An indigenous spacecraft has been created, and it will create a new history in the space horizon of India. Last time such a mission was taken by the great astronaut Rakesh Sharma, and after that, we are planning to send a crew of 3 members, that to a manned one. And if it is achieved, it will be a great success in the space part of our country's legacy. Fundamentally, you have to understand that this is how our space mission looks like, and there are different parts which are associated with it. You have to understand this. So usually this is the major part. It's called the escape part. So suddenly if something goes wrong, the crew members sit here and they can escape. The escape can happen when it is rising or when it is falling down. Any of these two things can happen. And this is where the whole rocket and all these things are placed, where the fuel starts, and here is the pressure where the rocket starts from. So you have to understand this small parts. Nothing much with respect to your exam, but you need to understand the whole criteria of it. So very important topic. So keeping that in head, let's go ahead. What is the history behind it? What are all the things that have been done? And what are the different parts of it? And how is the space program as a project, how is it moving forward? So first, India's first indigenous, that means it is made in the country by our own people. Keeping that in mind, please remember the names for other exams, not much for UPSC. So Captains Prashant Balakrishnan, Ajit Krishnan and Angad Pratap and Wing Commander Subhanshu Shukla carry their shoulders of 1.4 billion hopes for this successful space mission. Now let's read about Gaganyaan mission. Literally, what is Gaganyaan means? It means celestial vehicle. That means high in the space, just like our history, our mythology says. So what does this carry? It will carry IIF pilots to an orbit of about 400 kilometers. 400. So if the earth is like this, above earth 400 kilometers. So just imagine. And this spacecraft moves with 3 people going around. And finally, once the mission is done, for after 3 days, it will land up somewhere near in Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal in India. So that is what you have to understand. Any of these two places, it will fall. So that's how the whole spaceship has been programmed. So with landing in the Indian sea waters, that's the whole game. So the Endeavour will come 4 decades after Rakesh Sharma, that was a Soviet program then, so he went with respect to the Soviet program. So that's the major point. So in this slide, the major point is just remember the names. What is Gaganyaan mission? This is a celestial vehicle which will carry 3 men. That's very important. IIF pilots, that too. To what range? 400 kilometers above the earth. For a 3-day mission, it will revolve and then it is going to fall. So it will be a first indigenous, that means India made in India spaceship with 3 man people, and this will take us to a new level with respect to, there are only 4 other countries which have done something like that. So if it becomes successful, we'll be the first guys to make manned mission possible. That's the whole game. So keeping that in head, let's move on. What is the capability? To launch the human beings, 3 crew members, that too at LEO. Please remember this. This is what it's called, low Earth orbit. So that means the orbit where it is closer to the earth. So, and bring them back safely into Bay of Bengal or Arabian Sea. So this, please remember this. The Launch Vehicle Mark III, LVM3, is a launch vehicle, as I showed in the diagram. The launch vehicle part for the Gaganyaan 3 mission, and human rated LVM3. What does human rate consist of? It consists of the Crew Escape System, CES, which is powered by a set of quick things. Now you have to understand this part very clearly. This part is called the escape part. So here, if something goes wrong, all the crew members will sit here, and if something goes wrong, this will get separated and it will revolve around the orbit and fall down onto the earth. in sea waters, of course. So during starting point or at the ending point, if something goes wrong, God forbid, the men are safe. That is very important. You have to remember that part. So keeping that in mind, it consists of 4 test flights, of which the first flight is to uncrewed, and one project is with respect to a humanoid. So a robot which does the work. So before the final crewed flight, now what are the different phases in it? The first test flight, which is called TVD1, and second test flight TVD2. The flirt, they were trying first not with this one, they were trying first with, they are thinking of the worst case scenario. If something happens to the mission, how do we save the men? That is more important than huge money that is incurred in making the project. So the men should be safe, the pilot should be safe. So therefore, the flight test vehicle abort mission, it's an abort mission. 2 tests were already done. The first test was successful. It was in October 2023, and the crew escape system that can project the astronauts in case of rocket malfunction. So please remember this, TVD1 was done in October 23. Now they have done in TVD2, but this time what they have done is the second test flight called flight test vehicle TVD2 will be launched in 2024 to test the orbital module and re-entry technologies. This is for escaping, and this is for orbital module and re-entry technology. So how do you come back? So the first phase, escape part, second phase was re-entry part. So if you have to remember these part. The third one, this Vayomitra, this is very, very important for your prelims. The third test flight was done with a humanoid robot named Vayomitra. So what is Vayomitra? It is a humanoid. That is what you have to remember. That means it's a robot. It's a robot which looks like a person. And simulation of human functions and communicate with ground station. Now, if the humanoids project is successful, automatically the men's project also will be successful. So keeping that in mind, this is very important. So they might ask you a question on prelims. This is mission 3. So what we have to understand, there are 3 parts: TVD1, TVD2 and TVD3. So TVD1 is for escape, TVD2 is for re-entry, and TVD3 is humanoid. So you need to remember this sequence for your exam. So when I ask you TVD1 is related to what, TVD2 is related to what, TVD3 is related to what, and what are the functions of it. So they might give you a prelims question saying which of the following are true. So you should be careful. TVD1 is with respect to what, TVD1, TVD2 is with respect to what, and 3 is with respect to what. So that is what you have to really, really understand. So and finally the fourth, TVD4, is a test vehicle abort mission will be launched in 2025 with 3 astronauts on board. So our target is 2025. We will be sending our astronauts on the space mission. So before that, first test was already done, October 23. 24, we are doing these 2 tests, and the final test, which is the 4th one, where the astronauts will be sent in 2025. That is what you have to remember, the phases in which this Gaganyaan mission is going to be taken forward. What is the role of Gaganyaan mission? What are the advantages is, it first enhances India's science and technology and space center, and second one, it encourages young children and youth to enter into the space as an employment as well as thorough research with respect to space technologies, because all the developed countries are moving towards it and we are going to become the developed country. Therefore, we should be in par or on par with respect to the other countries. And it also provides to global space cooperation, International Space Station, and please remember these programs, the Artemis program and the Lunar Gateway, they're all space related things. So they might ask you, they'll give you a list in the examination and say these programs are related to which industry. That's the very important question you can be asked for. And finally, it provides a social as well as economic benefit by creating jobs, improving education facilities, disaster management, environment and all that. All these things can be done because any satellite, any spaceship which goes, the whole purpose to make sure that access and changes can be finally observed. And this, if you are successful, this will lead to ISRO being among the top-notch things, with the recent Chandrayaan mission being very successful. ISRO's position within the global space and global space stations will be at the highest level. So that is very important. So what are the other countries which have done this? United States, Russia as well as China are the only other countries which have achieved this feat. Now this, because of this, ISRO's position will be elevated with successful Aditya L1 mission, which is solar mission, which we recently sent one mission to the sun to observe what are the changes which is happening to the sun. This one, and the Chandrayaan mission, we already sent it. It's already on the moon. So these are the advantages of this Gaganyaan mission. So keeping that in mind, that's very important, I think.